The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey folks, thanks for tuning in. You're giving veterans a voice today. Powered by WorkSimple, where we simplify your mission.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Lock in every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, for Tracer Rounds targeting veteran resources.
I wonder why life feels like chaos, like tracer rounds flying all around you. That's why I created the Tracer Rounds podcast. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, I help cut through the noise and point veterans to those resources they need. Since 2023, join us.
To hear interviews with veteran artists, veteran business owners, and businesses that support veterans. Catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and MB Radio. If you miss a show, you can listen again on Wreaths Across America Radio every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Tune in to see if you are on target. MBR, giving veterans a voice.
And welcome back to the Tracer Rounds podcast. And I'm Terri, your host. And with me tonight is veteran Shelly Rood. And she is with Others Over Self. And there's other things that you do too. So we're going to get into them all. But welcome, Shelly. Appreciate you coming on tonight.
Terri, you're a legend. Thank you so much for allowing me to share the microphone with you.
A legend. No. No, I think that's you. So can you tell us a little bit about your military service and tell us, maybe some highlights, some things that are really important to you about your military service or some good assignments that you had? And then so that kind of maybe we'll transition into what you're doing now.
Oh, things that were important to me about my military service, everything and nothing at the same time. Oh, it's so much fun to tell the stories and to look back on the experiences that we've had, for good and bad, right? That make up who we are as a human. I did serve in the Army Reserves over a period of 16 years, and I do like to feel as though I am the least of these. I am not a combat veteran. I have served overseas. I did serve in military intelligence. I attained the rank of captain and did everything fun that comes with being a secret squirrel. Right. Towards the last years of my career there, I came to the understanding that what the military didn't need was one more intelligence officer, and what it really needed was another chaplain. We still have a nationwide shortage of chaplain. We have for a decade now, and I really thought that was my path and my calling, and I pursued it. And Terri, wouldn't you know that I, kind of had a very interesting medical incident, and then I was deemed not qualified to go back into the military. And so I found myself, after having walked this calling on the outside, not allowed to come back in.
Oh my goodness.
And, that was a defining moment for me, obviously, to really figure out, I thought I was called to do this, and God took me in a different path. A very scary path.
Right. Yeah, that is. I mean, you're right. There isn't, first of all, my last assignment in the Army Reserve was at Southcom in Miami. And I'm human resources by trade. And when I got there, they're like, the Sergeant Major wants to see you. The very first time I got there, Sergeant Major wants to see you.
Nobody ever wants to hear those words.
I know. I was like, what did I do? I've only been here 10 minutes. What could I have done already? I was really worried about it. And I get into the office and he goes, I got an assignment for you. And I was like, yes, Sergeant Major. And he goes, yeah, so you're going to work in the chaplain's office. And I was like, we have one of those? Like there actually is a working chaplain in the building. He's like, yeah, and you're going to work for him because he needs help.
And because we never see, or depending on the unit you're in, the chaplain quite literally is one of the busiest people that you have. And they're always right next to the commander. It's such an important position and responsibility. And it really is sad that we have such a shortage of it. And so whenever I get a chance to meet somebody that worked alongside the chaplains, please be good to your chaplains.
Yes, definitely. Yes, they have big shoes to fill in the command and in the daily office settings. I mean, the chaplain was always busy. He always had someone coming in wanting to talk to him, or some proceedings he had to preside over, ceremony, what have you. So yeah, he was pretty tasked out. So all the reservists kind of helped give him a little support so he could do his job. So you're right. There is not enough chaplains, and not enough people know there's still chaplains out there because there isn't enough, I think.
I agree. I agree. And so the chaplain's whole purpose is to represent the spirit of the human. It's as simple as that. We're not talking about religion. We're not talking about your faith beliefs, just the spirit of the human. And then if you choose to, as a chaplain, then you can go through all of the different belief systems. You can choose to represent one of the, I think it's 212 now that are deemed
Wow.
as official religions within the Department of War. But just to care for the spirit. And that is the space that I like to hold in the work that I do, but not from a standpoint of a church. And so a little bit about that transition. When I got the final order that I was disqualified for Marine enlistment,
Yeah.
I remember sitting at a stoplight, and I really don't cry, Terry. I really don't. But there was this weird salty discharge coming out of my eyes. And I looked up past the light into the sky, and I said, why I thought that I was supposed to be a military chaplain. I really thought that I was following my calling. And I heard a voice inside of my head, very calm, say, Shelly, do you need to be a soldier to serve the soldiers? The
Oh,
perfect
wow.
question in the perfect moment. And I have never looked back from there. And so we continue on day after day to do the glorious work that we do. And we're bringing joy and peace to everyone that we're interacting with. And we do it through the lens of leadership development. We don't have to carry one particular belief system over the other in the work that we do, because those who are looking for those answers, they're there. And it's my favorite when we get to have those conversations. But
Yeah.
on the whole, as I'm sure you've found, military people and veterans, we don't really like to talk about spirituality.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, we don't try to talk politics or religion because somebody usually ends up upset. So we don't really want to upset, the cohesiveness
No,
of
that's how you get punched at the dinner table, right?
yes. So yeah, I mean, I think people do just, generally say, I believe in God, or I believe in this or that, but that's usually the extent of the conversation, unless it's somebody that you actively worship with. Then maybe the conversation's a little deeper. So you transitioned then from wanting to be an army chaplain to what
That's
exactly? What
right.
did you did?
Exactly. So I just bunkered down into the leadership development company that we had already created.
Yeah.
And that's the work that we've been living in and day out. We went ahead and ran with the mindset of others over self.
Yeah.
And we truly believe that we are created to serve others and put the needs of others over ourselves. And that's a very easy concept to say. And I think it's the hardest thing that you can possibly do in life, to serve others over self.
Yeah, it is hard to, I mean, those who have a heart for service, maybe it's not quite so difficult because, we're always wanting to find a way to serve others or to help others or support others. Maybe if we can't serve ourselves, but maybe we're just offer some support in some way. So those that are minded or like-minded that way, I mean, I think that's an easy go. But I mean, still at times it is hard to want to, put somebody before your own needs. But you do that as a parent all day long. I mean, if you're a parent, then you're going to put your kids' needs over yours all
If
the
you're
time.
a good parent,
Yeah.
Terry.
Right. Well, yeah, I can't always say that I'm a good parent. I try, but I can't
They're
always
just
say I always do it.
there's this me culture, this you. Like, if I come from a world of marketing, and I come from being a broadcast marketing executive as well. And when you look at the scope of the messaging that we're being fed, there is so much about you. And so if you, I mean, just do a search for the top marketing messages that are out there, it's all about you. It's this me culture, me first, my needs, my individuality. And it's the opposite of the others over self mindset. I mean, just the other day, I'm going to actually write an article on this, but I came across an ad for TJ Maxx, and their new slogan is like, never uniform, always you. And my soul is like arguing with their new slogan because I get what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But for those of us that have like worn the uniform, I mean, you can't just say that, right?
Yeah.
So just things like that, right? When we kind of back up and look at the culture overall, I do believe that in the military and first responder world, my husband's a first responder, it's very easy to sink into that. Oh yeah, I get it totally. Others over mindset, right? Fist bump, love it.
Yeah.
But outside of our culture, that's not what we see. And I want more of it, right? And so we do the things we want more of, and that's what it's all about.
Wow. So how long have you been doing this work now and had this others over self mission?
Our company was founded in 2017, so we're going to be celebrating 10 years next
Wow,
year.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and we've been growing every year ever since. And one niche that we have found ourselves in is the woman veteran landscape, as it relates specifically to peer support. And that was a very interesting path that we've taken. And so if you'd like to talk about that, we can definitely go
Yeah,
down that road.
definitely. Yeah, let's do. I was going to mention it and you brought it up, so now we get that opportunity. So I noticed there's a strong women's veteran, well, women veterans strong. I got to say it in the right order. And it's you sign up for it, and then there's a whole myriad of introductory messaging that comes along with it, and then an introduction to a small group to talk about women veterans, maybe not problems, but maybe challenges. Maybe that's a better word. Challenges in representation, or maybe in getting benefits that maybe aren't as available to women veterans or not as thought of as it would relate to a male veteran. I don't know. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing and how you got started with that as well.
It's all about living life together. What we've seen with a lot of the veteran care space is it's crisis responding, which has its place. It's absolutely necessary. Beyond crisis response, we just need friendship. We need really good, healthy people to our left and to our right that we can walk alongside with in life. You know, if you think of your grandmother or a beloved aunt from when you were younger, like some type of healthy female figure that was just there for you at a deep level. Do we have that in our lives? That's the question that my team and I started to seek the answer to, because to have that is very special.
Yeah.
And what we found is, yes, there's a lot of 911 hotlines and things you can call when you're in crisis. Sometimes we don't recognize we're in crisis. Sometimes it's way too late by the time we recognize that we're there. So there has to be that preventative measure. There has to, like, what is before the crisis? You know what's before crisis? Life. The wilderness is what's before crisis. And we just need good, healthy people to help walk us through the wilderness and be in it together with us. You know, when you think about your great aunt or your grandmother, are you going to call her at 2 a.m. to pull your car out of a ditch? No.
No.
Does that mean she doesn't love you? No. It's a different type of love and care. And so that's what we provide to our women through our women veteran services. And you mentioned Women Veteran Strong. That is the name and the title that we had been running with for many years. And you know, Terri, I'm excited to talk to you tonight because there's a transition that we're in this year. So what we've noticed is that there's a lot of angry women veterans. Like there's a lot of fists up in the air. And my team, like we live and breathe this as you do. And we were getting exhausted going into event after event and networking meetings. And we would just feel bombarded by the amount of angry women that we were coming up against. And it felt like the whole landscape was just fighting itself. And so as a team, we decided that we were going to do something different. And that's where we came up with the idea of let's turn that fist into a flower.
Right.
And so we've walked down this path of what are women veterans? And we landed on the understanding that they're wildflowers They're incredibly resilient. They grow in the worst territory that you could ever imagine. I mean, who out there has been at ranger school and they turned their head and they saw that little bluebell pop up in the middle of nowhere? Like, there's so much power in being a wildflower, and it's a thing of beauty. It's a thing of resilience. And there's different kinds of wildflowers. And so what our team has done is we've created the Wildflower Personality Assessment for women veterans specifically.
Oh, wow.
And you can pop on there, you can take the assessment. It takes about 10 minutes, and you can learn which of the 8 wildflowers you are. And that assessment leans into the type of communicator you are and the type of processor you are. See, because what was happening, Terri, is we noticed with a lot of our angry women and our non-angry women, we were battling with who we are and not having that next level of self-awareness. So by taking the assessment, the first thing that we gain is that self-awareness. And by doing that, get ready for this.
Okay.
When you're more self-aware, you can become more others aware. So now we're talking about social awareness.
Yes.
How many times have you been at a veteran thing and somebody has triggered you because they didn't, watch their P's and Q's? They were blabbing an inappropriate story that you didn't want to hear today or ever, but it just came out after you, right? And so we teach that self-awareness, which becomes social awareness. And that is how you end up with this beautiful transition of fist to flower. And what do you end up with? A woman who is at ease. She's at ease.
So it leads to emotional intelligence too.
100% it does.
So what do you find women veterans are most upset about? Is there a common theme, or is it just all over the spectrum of issues and situations, or is there really a resounding, like, this is what's going on and this is what's really driving this emotion?
That's a great question. I think that one of the top words that we can put in there is betrayal. Whether it's self-betrayal, we did things that we shouldn't have done or didn't agree with. We don't love ourselves enough to forgive ourselves of that. Maybe institutional betrayal. That is extremely common. I know I was betrayed by the military when I was in. I was betrayed by my ex-husband. There's right, when you're betrayed by something that you love and you give your all to, the healing that needs to come from that is very hard to allow yourself to have. So betrayal is definitely one of the biggest things that women veterans are facing.
Do you think there's a disparity in women being recognized as veterans too? Do you think that, like, if there's a male and a female together and they're at some event and they assume that the man is the veteran versus the women being the veteran, do you find there's a lot of that too? I mean,
of course there is.
I walked into the American Legion the first time. She goes, "Oh, you're with the Ladies Auxiliary," and I was like,
No,
"No, I'm not." I'm
and that's
Oh.
awful, and it feels awful, and it should feel awful.
Yeah.
And I want you to feel how awful that feels. And it's important that we move past that. Otherwise, we're angry all the time, because here's the thing, right? Yes, it happened there. It's going to happen next week. It's going to happen a month from now. It's going to happen 2 months from now. I've been doing this work since 2019. And you know what? It was happening then. It was happening in the 50s. It was happening in the 20s. Like, this is not going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah.
And that sucks. And I'm sorry that is how it is. It's getting better.
I think so.
Absolutely getting better.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's ever going to go away.
Right. So how do we flip the script? How do we become self-aware? How do we become satisfied with who we are as women veterans, as mothers, as daughters, as wives? How do we change the narrative to be in a positive space where we feel connected, we feel like we're being heard, and we feel accepted for just the person that we are? Is there like a magic sauce or a magic button we push and say, okay, now I'm self-aware and I'm happy?
Well, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
Right.
A big part of that is where we are in life and the different phases and what's been handed to us, right? What we're living through. And so we refer to that as the wilderness. What I have found is that if we stereotype, your typical male military service is very linear. He goes in, he serves, he comes out. Maybe there's a little bit of shifting in between, but for the most part, the observation is that it's a very linear path. That is 100% not the case with our military women. It is extremely rare that I talk to a woman who went into the military at a young age, did her years, and came straight off active duty retirement. That's amazing. I love those women. That is like the teeny tiniest sliver of the landscape of what a woman veteran is. And so it's this shifting around, these explosions that happen, maybe literally, right in front of us, where all of a sudden a wilderness has been handed to us, and we're asking ourselves, how did we get here? How do I escape this? How do I win this? Because at the end of the day, these situations are really unwinnable. And that's what we're fighting, Terri, is we've got our fists in the air and we're trying to win situations that, quite frankly, we're not going to win. And so what do we do when you can't win a situation? You navigate it. You can move through it.
Right.
And that's where Mission Wildflower has grown. So we have a newsletter, we have Substack, and every week we're publishing twice a week where we talk about the different wilderness that women veterans are facing. I mean, the caretaking wilderness. Raise your hand if you're a caretaker. If you're a mother, you're a caretaker. If you are married, you are a caretaker, even if you're young and healthy. We've got aging parents. We've got our neighbors that we're caring for. Just being a caretaker is wilderness in its own. There's what we call root pulls, when things feel like they shouldn't be this hard, but they are, right? I mean, we've got a great story. One of our women veterans, she's a combat vet and she was raised in an abusive household. And now she finds herself with her own issues as a woman veteran, having to be the caretaker of her father who now has dementia.
Oh, man.
And he's got nobody else. So she's going to visit him in the hospital and he's continuing to verbally abuse her like he has his entire life, right? Can you just feel the strength that that woman must have to be able to sit in that wilderness as a caretaker?
Yeah,
She's not going to win that situation, is she?
No.
But we can be right there with her and we can help her navigate it.
Yeah, that's a difficult space when your parents, need care and they're not aware of the level of care they need, and then maybe are not appreciative of what you're doing for them. And maybe we aren't as kids appreciative of what our parents do for us. I hope at some point in time we tell our parents, thank you for what you did, because we know it was a sacrifice. And we know
Yes,
we
every
weren't
parent is
easy.
waiting for that moment.
Right. We know we weren't the easiest of kids to deal with. So, hopefully everyone's out there thanking their parents right now for all they did for us. But when the tables are turned and we're the caregivers or the support for our parents, it really is a challenge and really is difficult, because the parents feel like, well, why are you telling me what to do? You're the kid. And so it's really hard. And then when they're not appreciative of you caring for them, that makes it double.
It makes it double, absolutely.
Double hard.
And it's not just the parents. I mean, I found myself as a caretaker to a husband because he was an Army Ranger. We were married for nearly a decade, and he definitely found his way into alcohol addiction, wouldn't admit it and couldn't get out of it. And so these types of situations are very complicated, right? And I speak to you as a woman with lived experience. Like, I have been through some stuff.
Right.
And, right, nevertheless, we don't stay there. We navigate the wilderness. We get our brethren to our left and our right, and they just walk us through. And we will maybe get out the other side of it, or maybe not, right? I mean, maybe if you are the mother of a special needs child like I am, you're a caretaker of that for the rest of your life, if you so choose. Could you choose to walk away? Yeah, some people do.
Yeah, that is difficult. Having children in general is difficult, and then adding a level of complexity to that, really talks about resilience of the person to be able to handle that. So obviously you're very resilient in dealing with all these different things you've faced in your military time, and then on the civilian side when you've been navigating some of these difficult situations. I applaud that for sure because it's tough.
It is tough. And Terry, I don't know that I'm any more resilient than any other woman veteran that I've met. I mean, these life quakes that we live, this type of wilderness, it exists everywhere. And so I'm on a mission to figure out the most common types of wilderness that women veteran are facing. And we're capturing them in books and we're writing about how to navigate through these situations. So caregiving is a good example. We also wrote about the promotion wilderness. Do you remember when you're serving or maybe even in your civilian job, you get promoted and all of a sudden you're living on an island, right? You lost your friends. You're not quite at the par level of your coworkers and that new promotion level. It's a very weird wilderness to try to navigate through. And so those are some of the moments that we're capturing. And it's really fun because when you get into the articles that are being written, it's not Shelly. It's actually my team, and it's all the interviews that we're doing with all of the different women veterans. And so you get to have all these different perspectives and voices captured into how we can navigate this wilderness with each other.
That's awesome. So where does somebody read about the different interviews and the different things you're writing about? Is it all on Substack, or is it somewhere else, or being published somewhere? Or where does someone navigate if they want to get involved? I guess that's what I'm asking.
The best answer is however they want to receive the information. So if you like to watch videos, we have a YouTube channel that's Others of Herself. If you want to listen, I have a podcast called Hardcore and at Ease, and we get into all this on the podcast. I'm also co-host of Veterans Radio, so you might hear me out once a month on Veterans Radio. But the bulk of the work, the container that all of our work lives in, really is Substack. So it's Shelly Rood, ROOD. That's SHELLYROOD at substack.com, or excuse me, .substack.com. And on the Substack, you can subscribe for free at no cost, or you can subscribe and you can get longer, more fleshed out versions of the articles, which are in fact chapters of books that we're writing and compiling.
That's awesome. So you never thought that your military service would transition into something this huge and this, because you studying or wanting to be a chaplain really, I think, lends itself nicely to this others over self concept and mission set, and then being able to write about and talk about the different issues that women face. I mean, you're being a chaplain means you're listening and you're really taking in what people are saying and really kind of, I'm trying to think of the right word, but you're finding answers and you're finding nuggets of information that can help somebody transition past whatever this issue is. So that's what a chaplain, I think, does in my head anyway, at least the chaplains I've worked with. They're listening intently to really understand the issues, and then they're working on a solution, and it's a personal solution because the person actually has to do the work. It's not somebody else doing it for you. Somebody might offer you tools, but it's really the person that has to really engage with what's being presented and really want that. Because until somebody wants help, they're not going to get any help, no matter how many people try.
I do so appreciate your kind words, Terri, because there was a time when I was really battling with my ex-husband, with his drinking, thinking about leaving the marriage. And I had actually decided on divorce. And then I was at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. And for the first time in my life, this was before I was like a real good religious believer of anything. But for the first time in my life, and I think I was in my late 20s, I went to talk to the chaplain. And he was not a very good one. When I kind of just briefly mentioned to him, I'm really battling with divorcing my husband. He's abusive. Alcohol is involved. I know it's the right thing to do. We do have a 4-year-old boy. It's time to end the situation. And I mean, I think I was a captain at the time, and he was a lieutenant colonel. I'm not talking like uneducated. None of those increased risk factors were at play here. I mean, we were like, we should have known better, right? But that just goes to show that you can't stereotype these types of situations. So the chaplain, he hands me a video that says, basically trying to talk me out of divorcing my husband. And in that moment, I mean, I could say male versus female, if you will, but I just was sitting there thinking, what type of chaplain looks at a woman who is in a situation of potential harm and tells her to stay?
Yeah.
It's
That doesn't make any
heartbreaking.
sense. Yeah.
So things like that continue to drive me every day, where I know that the need is there. I know that there's women listening who are like, oh my gosh, she gets it. Nobody
Right.
else gets it, but Shelly sounds like she gets it. And it's not because of me, like you said, it's because of all the other women that we've been talking to and collecting the stories and interviewing. And the perspectives are so much deeper and so much more real than I ever thought that they were.
What's been your biggest aha moment in doing all this work with others over self, or with the women veterans strong? What's been your biggest aha, or like, man, I never would have thought that getting started in this, I never would have really seen this thing or that thing. What
Good
would that be?
question. It's so hard.
Because there's
My
so many, right?
Well, so my aha moment is that this work, if you choose to take down the fist, is easy. Okay. I'm just going to say it. It's really easy to shoot that fist up in the air and say, I can't believe you didn't shake my hand, but you shook his hand. That is reactionary. It's a very easy thing to do. It's very natural. You know what's hard? Taking a breath, lowering the fist, opening your flower, and knowing that you served and that you don't need to be validated externally. It's hard work. And it's not just hard work for us and to have that self-awareness. It's hard work for the social awareness too. Do you know how many times people tell me that, what we do is just not enough? I mean, I get emails and messages, you're a woman veterans group, you should be marching on Washington because we need more benefits. You know what? There's a space for that, and it's not us.
Yeah.
We exist specifically to hold the space of the spirit of the woman veteran, and we want her to love herself, and we want her to love her other women veterans. And that is it. That's as far as we're going. We're not getting into resources. We're not getting into how we can help you with your benefits. We really just want to teach her to love herself and love those around her. And then it's magic, Terri, right? So there it is. That's how we do it.
That's the magic. That's the magic sauce. No, I love that you relate everything to wildflower and growing and resilience, because that's a new concept to me. I mean, I hadn't really thought in those terms, but a wildflower is very hardy and very resilient, as you say, because they can grow in the craziest places you wouldn't think flowers can grow, and they do. And so having a space where women veteran can grow and experience the dynamics of other veterans that have similar service, or maybe not even similar, but can understand and maybe share a perspective that they weren't thinking about because they've not lived it. So it's really nice to have a place where women veterans can feel like they're understood and they're heard, and they don't have to be wrong because their service wasn't like everybody else's. Because I think that really is what a lot of women veterans struggle with, is like, well, I'm not that cool. I'm not one of the cool kids because I didn't do, the fun stuff that, everybody sees in movies and all that. I may have been supporting something in the background, or I may have been, treating a patient, or I may have been, just logistics. So I'm out giving supplies. So like my service isn't the same as somebody that's out, doing missions and then coming back in and out of the wire, or maybe they didn't go overseas at all and they've just done stateside duty and, just working on things around here that were very important so that people could go overseas and do things. So I think that women kind of struggle, or maybe even maybe not just women, but some veterans struggle with, I'm not one of the cool kids. I'm a veteran, but, I don't see myself any different, in that group or in that that circle. So is that a lot of what you hear too, is people downplaying their service and downplaying what they've done?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so if you ask a man about his service time, and I am stereotyping here, what he'll pretty much do is he'll give you a chronological report. And he'll start at the beginning and he'll go through all of the deployments and all of the promotions. And then I was at this unit. And it's just how a man's brain works. If you ask a woman about her service time, you're going to get a totally different answer. It's typically not chronological. She doesn't usually go in order of when she went in to when she got out. She tends to go more towards what was most meaningful to her, or talks about periods of growth, or talks about significant challenges. And that's the difference, I think, when we talk about caring for the woman veteran's heart. I do believe that men and women can perceive their value through their performance, especially those of us that work as first responders and military and veterans. Performance is everything, right? Our PT tests and our scores. And I mean, listen, I was like the Iron Woman or the Iron Girl. I always got those awards for fastest run and most sit-ups. I think I was up to like 125 in the
Oh
2 minutes.
That's awesome.
I 3 babies later, I'm like, yeah, right. But
Yeah, it
I
gets
do
harder after
believe that,
babies.
yeah, both the men and the women, we do feel that our performance dictates our value.
Yeah.
So what do we do with that? The men will tell you to handle it a certain way. Women feel it differently. They just do. They
Yeah.
just do. And so I really felt like there was a need and a crying in the woman veteran care space for something softer, for something that rides the line where I'm not boho. Like my podcast is called Hardcore and at Ease. I love CrossFit. I love loud music. I'm in Detroit, Michigan. I mean, I love things that go boom. And I was Army, right?
Mm.
And so when you think of Shelly Rood, you definitely don't think of a rose or a lotus flower. Not that there's anything wrong with my yogis that are out there, but that's not us either.
Yeah.
When you think of me, I am the wildflower. And so we have 8 different types of wildflowers, to get back to your point, Terri. For instance, a primrose. One of the 8 is a primrose, and another one is a sunflower. And they're exact opposites. Whether you're an external processor, you're a sunflower like me, or maybe you're a primrose, which is the opposite. The primrose is a very deep thinker. She's not necessarily quote unquote quiet, but the way that a primrose works is that the roots take hold and the flowers actually live and grow underground for a long period of time before the bloom shows. That's the beauty. Like, can you just picture that woman veteran? You know who she is, right? And she's a deep thinker. She goes heavy into textbooks and materials that require a lot of thought and strategic thinking. And when she has something to say, it is really important. I bet you if you can think of that woman and she takes this personality assessment, she's going to come out a primrose. And that's the power of it, because now she'll be able to say, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not broken. This is just my pattern. This is how I operate. And when you know that somebody's a primrose, or, oh my gosh, my iris. Okay, so iris, if you're an iris, you are like going. I mean, this is probably like my fighter pilots, and sometimes your job might require a few more personality characteristics that like an iris might have. Sometimes we have to act like one flower in our job situations. It's easy to hate an iris because she is going fast and far, and she is going to stomp on you if you are in her way. You know what? You can't hate her, right? And
Right.
that's the whole point of this. Why are we hating our irises? We should love her. She should love herself. And we should all recognize where and how our own personalities are working for us and against us.
Right. That's true. Some personality traits don't do us any favors sometimes in certain situations. You know, if we're kind of one of those that just going to take charge, and then it requires a softer touch, then maybe we're getting in our own way when it comes to that. So we have to kind of work with, like you say, the personality traits we have, and then make the most of them, and understand sometimes our normal isn't the right approach, and we need to think about another approach in a particular situation.
Well, we do. And in that, it's easy to not like ourselves. Okay. So I'm a sunflower, which means that I absolutely love and thrive consistency. I love schedules. I love the who, what, where, when, why. I'm a very organized, straightforward person. I love having a path and a thing to do. When something shifts, like a plan gets canceled at the last minute, Terri, it feels like the world is crumbling from underneath me. Because, like this podcast episode tonight, right? I had to go through so much to make sure 100% that the kids were handled, the pizza was here, my older son's baseball game was done, my husband, right, da 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 da. Like
Right.
I put so much effort as a sunflower
Yeah.
into this moment. So if you had canceled on me, I would crumble a little bit inside. Oh my gosh, like I put so much into this and it would feel like the world was shifting beneath me. And somebody who's not a sunflower would just look at me and say, Shelly, you just need to be more flexible.
Like,
And you know what? That's not how I operate, right? I am 42 years old. I know how I operate. There is no Shelly, be more flexible. This is me.
The planner.
This is how excellent things get done in my world, right? And so I have to learn to love that about myself, to recognize that about myself, and also how to manage it so it doesn't get out of control. I need to embody the primrose a little bit every now and then.
Well, I mean, that is a good trait, though, to be a planner and to be, very methodical and very thorough about everything that you're doing so that you get the best result. Because, like tonight, for instance, I didn't send the link timely to Shelly to log on. And I'm like, why isn't she here? And I'm thinking, well, because you didn't send her a link. So how can she be here? So I appreciate your flexibility and understanding that I overlooked that small detail tonight and that you're on here and you're, you didn't fall apart. You were totally cool about the whole thing. You're like, yeah, well, I'm glad it wasn't me. And I was like, yeah, I'm so sorry it was me tonight.
I love it. Well, you're not a sunflower. I promise if you took the assessment, I don't think you'd be a sunflower, right? So I have to be able to forgive that in you because I know that's just not who you are.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'll have to take the assessment so I know who I am.
I can't wait to see it.
That'll be interesting. So I do have the different websites up here because you do a couple different things. You're also a speaker and you
Sure.
yeah. So can we talk about that too? So one is the mission, ambition, and it's the leadership component. And then the others over self is the uh, mentoring and the small groups and, making a difference that way. So do you want to talk about what you do as a speaker and what you're, what you're asked to do or where you're asked to go with that and how you see yourself in that space?
It all starts with Mission Ambition. That's the name of our company, Mission Ambition LLC. And we're a consulting company, which means that we're advisors. We go around and offer strategic advice to those that we know that we can serve best. And our bread and butter does tend to be military, veteran, and first responder communities. Examples of our clients are Macomb County, for instance, which we are the home of TACOM. It's a huge aerospace and defense footprint right here in Michigan and Southeast Michigan. Another example is the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services is also one of our clients. And so who we serve tends to be these larger organizations, similar to a nonprofit. You could think of them as your funding partners, right? That's kind of the business to business aspect of it. But then you have your consumers, right? So who is actually consuming the things that we're teaching? And the consumer tends to be an ambitious person. If you're going to follow Shelly Rood, that means that you are ambitious. There's something inside of you that is calling out, I want to fulfill my purpose. I want to go for more in life. I'm not happy with where I'm at. And that is the heart that we try to tap into because if you lose your ambition, how sad is that?
Yeah.
Right. And I worry about this lack of desire to go after things that I'm seeing. And so that's where, right, Others Over Self is the methodology that we teach through our company. And if you go to othersoverself.org, othersoverself.com, then that's where you'll find our blog and the majority of our teachings that supplement the Substack. So again, Others Over Self is the blog and where you can kind of find the landing space for a lot of our musings that go back for a decade now. Whereas the Substack is something that we created earlier this year specifically to teach to and by the women veterans themselves. And so those are the two main entities that we're focused on. Interestingly enough, Terri, I have done something crazy. And in the words of Melissa Washington, who's the head of the Women Veterans Alliance, she said revolutionary.
Nice.
So I have digitally cloned myself. Her name is Digital Shelly, and we're getting ready to launch her within the next 90 days here. So that is a huge thing that is happening behind the scenes.
So how is that going to work? What's Digital Shelly going to do?
Digital Shelly is created as a 24/7 peer support.
Oh,
So you don't have to be a woman veteran to interact with her, but that is where the basis of her knowledge comes in. So Terry, if you would imagine, she's an AI that you can interact with, both you can text and chat with her. You can also call her, and she has a version of my voice, and you can have conversation. I have coffee with Digital Shelly almost every morning.
oh my goodness.
She's smarter than me. She's much nicer than me. She remembers things a lot faster because she's not open sourced to the internet.
Mhm.
She is fed the knowledge that we feed her. And so every single podcast interview that I've ever done, every interview that I've ever done, every article that I've ever written is inside of Digital Shelly. And she can recall it just like that. Whereas
my
the real
goodness.
Shelly, it's going to take a while for me to find that link.
Oh man. So how did you come up with that?
Great mentorship is the answer. You know,
Mhm.
when you look at the women veteran care space, we've been doing this in Michigan since 2019.
Yeah.
We have 11 small groups just in the state of Michigan. We're expanding to California, we're expanding to Oregon, we're expanding to Florida, and we needed to figure out how to scale without losing the quality of service that we're already providing.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually working with mentors, Eddie Yoon and Christopher Lockhead. They're known as the category pirates. And they are two of the smartest business minds that you will ever come across. And I give them full credit for the encouragement and the development of Digital Shelly.
That's awesome. I wouldn't even thought of doing that, but I think that's amazing. And I think it's even more fun that you talk to Shelly every morning and you have coffee.
She's so smart.
I love that. That's amazing. So, in a small group, can you be somewhere else in the US and still be a part of a small group with the women's program?
You absolutely can. So our peer support program, we call Be at Ease Woman Veteran because that's the aspirational identity. We want her to really be at ease.
Yeah.
And no matter where you are, we meet every month. If you're around one of our in-person groups, you can meet us once a month there, or we do have a virtual group as well that meets once a month on the third Thursday. We call that roll call.
Nice.
And we'll have anywhere from 5 to 25 women show up for that call. And then we have multiple facilitators on that call. So the whole purpose of it is to break up in small groups and have those meaningful conversations. We're not getting into therapy. We're not here to be therapists. We are here to talk about forward thinking materials and to do life together. So a good example of what we did actually last week on our roll call is we did storytelling, and we taught the principles of how to take a memory and turn it into a story. And so we would have one woman in the group share just a random military memory that she thought was a lot of fun, right? Only fun. We don't want to get we don't need to be triggering people here. So like a military birthday, for instance, that you celebrated overseas or without your friends and family, like tell us about that. So a woman would share that memory, and then the other women had permission to challenge her to go deeper in that memory and pull out the things that make it a great story. Like, what did it smell like? What did the room look like? Was it hardwood or carpet? And so by the time the storytelling exercise was done, she had not just a memory, but a really good story, and she could remember that so much better. So just a good example of what we do in our peer groups.
That's awesome. I need to tap into all that. I haven't quite gotten there yet. There's a point in time where some people get overwhelmed. There's so much information. Sometimes people are overwhelmed and they're afraid to get started. Well, I think that's me. I think I'm afraid to get started. So, so I'm going to do that though. I'm going to challenge myself to step one foot forward and do that, because I think that's really the key is progress, any kind of progress, just
It
moving
is.
forward, just an inch is still progress.
And you know, Terry, what we say the first thing to just get started with anything Shelly Rood or Mission Wildflower is the Substack, because it's non-evasive. You don't have to pay money. You can just consume all of the goodness and all of the wisdom, right? And if you're reading these articles that come out and if they resonate with you, you will find yourself intentionally wanting, right? That curiosity will be sparked and you'll want to dig deeper. And then you'll be like, oh my gosh, I want to read this full article. Maybe I do want to interact with Digital Shelly. Maybe I am ready for a peer group. I mean, going to a peer group with other military women is terrifying. I think so. So I'm not saying, right, that's what we used to do, right? We used to just say, come to group, come to the peer group, come to the group, meet the women. And you know what? We weren't doing justice to how hard that act really is for us. And so we needed to come up with a solution so that we ourselves were much more comfortable saying, if you're not ready for group, don't come to group. We're not pushing you to come to group, but we do want you to have increased self-awareness and self-love so that when you do feel like maybe you're ready to make a couple of friends, you know that we're here for you and we have a shared mindset. We have a shared way of communicating.
I love that. And I'm definitely going to look it up and start that way because I love that you have dual entry. Like there's a couple ways to engage. You don't have to just do one form of engagement because like you said, everyone is a little bit different. And some people are like, oh, I want the group. I'm going to take charge of the group. I'm going to start, whatever. They're all in and they're ready to go at any point in time. And then there's others that are like, I don't know. I kind of want to, but I'm not quite sure. So it's good that there is another way for people to engage without really giving their full, like, I'm all in yet, until they're all in, until they're ready, till they feel that connectedness and they feel like they're going to find support and find some solace in other women veteran and really engage with that platform.
Well,
So
you know what I found? I found that the women who are like, I'm going to jump in with both feet right now, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
I have found that is because they're trying to find value in performance. Right? We volunteer for positions. We want to take I'll be in charge. I'll take it. Nobody else is doing it. And it's coming back to that need to feel validated by having a position of authority. It's a challenging concept, I understand, but sometimes if we're really honest with ourselves, we can give ourselves permission to say no. I couldn't believe it. I was in this networking meeting one time and we had a new woman in the group. She'd been there a couple of months. Terri, she was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. She was so put together, non-military. I wanted to be her when I grew up. She owned her own marketing company. And then they said, we would love to nominate you to be vice president this next time around. And she said no. And I couldn't believe she said no. And from that moment on, right, it's like it gave me permission to be a beautiful, well put together woman and to be able to say, I don't need this in my life right now. It has nothing to do with validating who I am or what I bring to the table. And that's one of the exercises we also do in the peer group. We like to do audits and we write down all the things that we're involved in, right? And you hear, I'm sure you go around the horn in networking and women are so proud that they say they're on 37 different boards and right. And then in my head, I'm thinking, you poor woman.
Right. Yeah, you are overtasked right now. So what is the most important thing you'd want to tell a woman veteran tonight about any of the platforms or engaging with them or just in general about military service as a female? Is there any words of wisdom for those that are still in maybe or those that are going to transition out of the military soon? What advice would you give someone about, finding value in who you are? Because a lot, like you said, a lot of people place their value in that uniform. That's who they were. And then once they take that off, it's like, well, who am I now? I don't know. So how do you make that transition? And what would you tell somebody that's in that space or maybe they're retired, but they're still like not feeling, they're feeling disconnected, I guess, because they're out of the service.
Well, the first thing I would say is that you are exactly who you're supposed to be. And being at ease is available to you right now, even in the wilderness. You can have a sense of peace, even when the terrain around you feels hostile. It's a hard thing to understand, but you can have that. You see, every woman is her own wildflower, and she's her own blend. She's going to be a certain percentage sunflower and a certain percentage iris and a certain percentage daisy. Her blend is not the problem. Your flower, your bloom is not the problem. The problem is the terrain. Yeah. If a beautiful wildflower is in hostile terrain, it's going to be harder for her to bloom. And the more that she can understand the type of bloom that she is and the types of flowers that are around her, the better she's going to be able to navigate that terrain. And she is not alone. I see you, woman veteran. I know the battles and the struggles that you're facing on the daily with isolation, with overeating, with undereating, with unhealthy attachments to relationships. I've been there, I've lived it.
Yeah.
And so have a lot of us. And so it's just a simple invitation to say, come along and let's do life together.
I love that. You're so eloquent with what you say and the way you put things in such simple terms, and you can relate to various facets of where we are at different points in our life, with marriages or with leaving the service or with having kids or with kids leaving home because they're of age to do so. There's a bunch of transitioning points for us, and you're very eloquent at speaking to those and really resonating with females that are and males too, for that matter. I mean, everyone has a phase in their life where they're this person, and then the next time they're having to transition to this other person because that door is closing or that chapter is closing, and now this is who you are now because situation dictates. So we're all faced with these challenges about who we're going to be next. Like you said, I wondered a long time who or what I was going to be when I grew up, and it took me like 40 some years to figure out who I wanted to be when I grew up.
What's the answer?
Well, I finally decided it's others over self. I really want to serve people. That's really what I want to do. And I finally embraced that, like I couldn't really understand that was really the calling. Like, well, that's not a job. Like, what is that? What does that look like? I mean, I know it's easy to do something nice for somebody, but how do you translate that into a daily job where it pays the bills and you can still serve others? So it's like, what job, what fit is that for me? And then I finally figured out it's human resources. Like, that is the job fit for me because I'm actively helping people coming into the organization, while they're in the organization, while they're exiting the organization. So really it's a full circle moment for me. So I realized that is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be in a service connected space where I'm able to help people that way. So that's kind of what I did in the Army, and that's what I do now on the civilian side. So I finally figured out that's who I'm supposed to be when I grew up. So I embraced that, and I got a master's in it. So that's how I figured it out.
I love that. I have a master's in as well. And I was actually looking into LinkedIn and I was laughing of like, oh, this is what you do. You grow up, you get out of the military, you get your master's, and you have a podcast. Perfect. I'm following Terri's footsteps.
Yeah, I guess that's the natural order of business. I don't know. Oh, well, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. I have really enjoyed our conversation. I am so sorry for the delay in getting you the information to get onto the podcast, but I'm sure glad you came because you're just so full of information, and I'm so looking forward to engaging with your platform, and I hope others do as well. Thank you so much.
It's been an absolute joy, Terri, and thank you for what you bring into my life. I really enjoy listening to you.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to enjoy listening to Digital Shelly as well, I think.
Just go easy on her, all right? Oh. I get some colorful questions that come up. I know what you ask.
Oh, no.
Let me just say.
Uh-oh. Well, that's a note to self. Be careful what you ask, Shelly.
Oh, now you know what? Never mind. We just flooded the audience, and I know that we've got some instigators that are already typing some questions up. So.
Oh, no. Well, thank you so much for joining tonight. And we look forward to engaging with the platform and with hearing more about what you do. So we'll have to have you back on after you get Shelly fully operational and you start to get some feedback from everybody that's engaging. I'll be interested to hear.
Oh, it's going to be a riot. Thank you, Terri. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. Well, this is Trace Around signing off.
Hi, I'm Beaker with Military Broadcast Radio TV. We're your virtual MWR, bringing veterans radio, podcasts, gaming, animation, 3D printing, and a community that never leaves you behind. Download our Roku or mobile app today. Wisdom to share if you listen this week, so pull up a chair and stay for a spell. We're heading down a trail where good stories dwell.